Hello, oboe students who are auditioning for the Albuquerque Youth Symphony. I'm Kevin Vino, the oboe professor at the University of New Mexico, and I'm going to try to help you with your audition material. You're being asked for three things, and the first thing are three scales: C major, G major, and D major. The description I have is that you're going to play 2 octaves where possible. You're going to slur the notes on the way up and tongue them on the way down, and that the tempo for this is quarter note between 90 and 100. Assuming that you're playing quarter notes, I'd like to demonstrate a D major scale for you. I will be trying to play in tune with an even sound with good response. I would suggest that for D major you play in 2 octaves, for C major you play in 2 octaves, and that for the G major scale you go all the way up to a high D and turn around. The second item you're being asked for is a prepared solo or etude, and I hope you've been working with your teachers or band directors on that one. Not knowing what you're going to play, I will not be able to help you today with that selection. The third section are your excerpts, and we have 2 for oboe. These are optional for students who are only going to be hoping for placement into YCO, but if you want to be placed into the Youth Symphony or Youth Orchestra, YS or YO, you will have to play these excerpts. The first one is quite famous. It's on almost any orchestral audition professionally, and it's the slow movement, the Funeral March, from Beethoven's Third Symphony. What I'd like to do is play this in 3 segments for you, and after each segment I will speak about things that you might want to be careful about. But initially, let's go ahead and start. Please do observe the marked tempo, which is 8th note equals 80. This is the solo that opens that movement. So things you'll want to be very careful about. I definitely suggest you practice with your metronome set to the 8th note. We want to make sure that all the dotted rhythms are very accurate. That is, that they don't turn into triplets. That the little grace note you see at the beginning of the first complete bar is pretty quick, not a slow grace note, and it kind of arrives just before the beat. Really count your rests very carefully. When you get to the third complete bar of the solo, this is where the short notes, the 30 seconds, are placed on the beat, and you want to make sure you really do that and don't put them before the beat. So in other words, not. Again, practicing with your metronome will really help you with this. So careful, especially with the dotted rhythms, both long, short, and short, long. Do observe all of the crescendos and diminuendos. And in fact, on some of the repeated notes, for example, you start with 3 Gs, bum, ba, bum. I like to crescendo through those 3, even though it's not written. When you get to the repeated Ds in the 4th complete bar, I like to continue the diminuendo throughout those 3 Ds. And that'll be the same for the very last bar I played, bar 16 for you. I like to continue that diminuendo. You have a 17, 18, almost 20 bars of rest coming up next. I would count at least 1 complete bar of rest, but I don't think you need more than that. Obviously the committee will not be interested in having you count that many. I'm going on to the second segment, which will be from A to B. It's like the sun comes out in this part, and we have a happy memory here. Also, rhythmic things that we want to be careful about. In the second complete bar of this section, make sure you really count the eighth notes through the quarter note into the third eighth note, so that this scale is very accurate rhythmically. I'll play that for you. I'm definitely counting the eighth notes there. And I'm playing with a staccato, but not too short. They should all be the same, but not pecky. When you get to bar 40, make sure that you hold that E full length, a whole eighth note, and that the next subdivision is very accurate. So like this. You're actually sort of together with the timpani and other instruments right there. It has to be very accurate. In bar 42, you'll note that you have a sforzando on the high C, so don't crescendo on the F sharp, so that the high C is definitely marked. I'll play that for you. On this G that I just played, really count very accurately. We're going to need to have 8 beats of that G before you move on to the next downbeat. I'm now going to play the last section of this from B to the end, and it's going to combine ideas from the first two segments. I think here you could just count a bar. And that's all 3 sections. Of course, you'll be playing them consecutively. I have a little water here. A little advice about this last section, really count your rests accurately. Again, key to preparing this is to really use your metronome set to the 8th note. As with any orchestra excerpts, I also suggest that you listen to some recordings so you get to know how this sort of fits together. You're drifting in and out of being the lead voice in this opening section. We're now going to move to your second excerpt. This comes from Stravinsky's Pulcinella Suite, and you're going to be playing this with a repeat. Again, practicing with the metronome set to 100, very accurate rhythmically. I'll play through it for you. Very important that all of the 8th notes are very even and not rushed. Stravinsky actually adapted this from trio sonatas that were attributed to Pergolesi. And just like with a Baroque composer, he's not indicating a lot of dynamics throughout this piece. So you might want to feel free to add some of your own. I would highly suggest in the last 3 bars that you crescendo on the way down to the low B so that it comes out accurately. If you make a diminuendo, it might be a little too scary to get down to the low B. Make sure that you're really at the tip of the reed with a nice open embouchure so that those low notes really respond. Make sure that you're not rushing the quarter notes. That can be very tempting to do, and it's hard to hold back and make this sort of at the correct tempo without rushing. Have fun. We seem to be in a time of making many recordings, and I suggest that you record yourself every day as you practice this. Best wishes for a successful audition, and I hope you found this to be useful. Thank you.